Good morning, Cult Nation. Miss Waddell here. This is your final Wellness Wednesday with me, and that makes me sad. But I'm passing the torch over to your all's teachers, and they're going to carry on with the lessons that we've been doing. So your Cult Connections is going to look a little bit different. But I do want to say how much I appreciate your all's participation and effort ever since the start of the school year in August. I've really enjoyed reading your all's assignments that you guys have done, and I've loved our conversations that we've had during our live sessions and in the chats. So I hope to see you guys soon. With that being said, I am going to go ahead and jump into today's lesson. But before I do that, it is November. And remember, I wanted us to use November as a time for us to be grateful and show gratitude. And that is one of the strategies that we can use when we're feeling anxious, is to take a second and write down all of the things that we're thankful for. So what better month to start that than November, when we have Thanksgiving coming up. So remember, I had shared with you guys that I have a gratitude journal. It's not a diary. It just has some different prompts in there. So it just has you identify, let's see, one reason why your life is already great, someone whose presence makes your life sweeter, something that you get to do today that you've always wanted to do, and one beautiful reason to be happy right now. Those were just some of the prompts for today that I wrote down on my own. It doesn't have to be that. It can just simply be you getting writing on the back of a sheet of paper and writing down things that you're thankful for in that moment that pop into mind. And you'll see that as you start making a habit out of identifying those things that you're grateful for, you're going to notice a shift in your mindset, and you're going to become more positive and more focused on the positive things and not dwell on that negativity. Because as we've learned in previous lessons, how our brain is wired for negativity bias, it was part of a survival mode for us. And so we have to train our brain to look at positive things. It doesn't come naturally to all of us. So make sure that you're setting aside a couple minutes each day to do that. So now I'm going to go and I'm going to present my screen to you guys. And I am going to do it a little bit different today, because today's lesson, it goes along with the write-up assignment that I have here. Okay, so you might want to have both tabs open at the same time. You might want to open up this assignment while you are watching the live lesson. So you might want to pause me so you can pull that up. But remember, it's got today's date, November 11th, resolving conflict. That's our assignment title for today. And the reason why is because you're going to see there's two long paragraphs on here, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about in this lesson. So if you can complete this with us together by having it open. That way you don't have to try to rewind me and memorize everything that I said. So make sure you have that opened. So I do want to remind you guys, in the last couple of lessons, we explored how to keep our emotions in check and consider the other person's perspective. That way we can prevent a conflict from escalating. Today, we're going to learn how to start the process of resolving a conflict. So we learned how it's important for us to look at another person's perspective. And we had two definitions last week that we talked about, how there's a difference between perspective and perspective taking. And so when we're doing perspective taking, that's when we're taking into consideration and we're considering what that other person is thinking and feeling from their point of view, right? So we're really kind of digging deeper into their thought process as to how they feel about a situation and how they kind of came to that conclusion. Let's look at our warm-up question. And I believe this is our same warm-up that's on our assignment. So if you jump to the assignment, you can go ahead and type it in here. But what the warm-up prompt is asking us is to think about a conflict that you had with another person that you were able to resolve. Okay, we have conflicts every day. It's just that some of them are so minor that we don't consider it a conflict, right? If you have a TV show that comes on, but your brother has a movie that's about to come on, that's a minor conflict. Okay, if you want cereal, but your mom just ate the last of it, but you ended up finding a Pop-Tart, that's a minor conflict, right? So they come about, they happen throughout the day. So think about one of those conflicts that you had with somebody. It can be major or minor, and answer these two questions. What did you do to help resolve the conflict? What did the other person do to help resolve the conflict? So you can go back over here to your assignment and you're answering those two questions. And again, I did a few examples. It can be something as simple as, let me try to think of one. My girls, I know that Nala was working on her homework last night, and Kayla, the 3-year-old, she always wants to do whatever the big sister's doing. And so Nala had these different leaves she had to color. And so she ended up giving a leaf to Kayla so she can color it. Again, a very minor conflict. How did you help resolve the conflict? Well, Nala noticed that Kayla was upset. She didn't want her to be upset. And she knew that she had a lot of leaves to color and that it wouldn't hurt if Kayla colored one of them. Okay. What did the other person do to help resolve the conflict? So think about your specific conflict and how both parties kind of contributed to resolving that conflict. Just back to my cereal example, if you really wanted those Lucky Charms when you woke up, but you just realized your mom ate the last of them, that's a conflict. So instead of getting mad at your mom, you're like, well, what else is there for me to eat? I can put a waffle in. I can have a Pop-Tart. I can make, some toast. Maybe you have some bacon. Yum. So that's your warm-up right there. Now I'm going to pop back over here. So hopefully what you notice is that you guys are able to, sorry, my phone's going crazy, is that you guys were able to kind of come up with a compromise. We're going to look at some definitions here. We have a conflict resolution process. And you're probably thinking, like, what is that? These are some steps that you can take to understand what somebody else is. You're able to describe the conflict in a way that captures everyone's perspective and doesn't blame anyone. To do this, you have to follow these guidelines. So it's important when a conflict arises that you're not jumping to blame, right? You're not blaming anybody, because when you're being blamed about something, and think about if you're the one being blamed, if you're being blamed for doing something, that can escalate a situation pretty quickly, right? Because then we feel the need to defend ourselves. And probably in a way that is matching the energy that is coming to us, right? If you ate the last of the Lucky Charms and your brother comes at you, why did you eat all the Lucky Charms? And you can, instead of blaming, try to see it from his perspective. That'll make more sense in just a minute. So the conflict resolution process. There are 4 things for us to keep in mind. The first thing is, what's the conflict? So you need to be able to define what is happening. Okay, so what's happening here? My friend's upset with me. What is the conflict going on? Right? I want to play outside. He wants to play video games. What are some possible solutions? For each solution, consider the consequences. And then what's the best solution? So this is something that takes a while to do. You come up to a conflict. A conflict is right there in front of you. Okay, maybe somebody posted something on social media about you that wasn't true, because they were upset with you. A possible solution, a possible solution would be that I could post something on social media back, right? But then step 3 has us look at the consequence. So if I consider the consequence of that, then that makes me just as guilty as the person who posted something first, right? Maybe I could reach out and have a conversation over the phone with that person, or if they live next door, I can go next door and have a conversation with them. So you want to consider the consequences, because a lot of times we jump to a reaction and we don't think things through to consider what the consequence of that action could be. Right. And then we end up being grounded and sitting in our rooms and thinking, gosh, I could have done it totally different and I wouldn't have my phone taken away. I wouldn't have my Xbox taken away if I could have just thought through my consequences, right? And just kind of figured out there's other solutions. You probably don't know this expression, but there's more than one way to skin a cat. Okay, so there's always more than one solution. There's never just one solution to any problem. Okay, so you want to be able to, the whole purpose of conflict resolution process is for you to map out what your options are and go with the option that does not have a negative consequence tied to it. And that's hard. Okay, and you're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. And sometimes, we don't do those things because our reaction is so quick. But remember, we can't take our actions back. So we can be remorseful. So that's feeling sorry for something that we did, but we can't take those actions and words back. So it's important that we get in the habit of considering the consequences and weighing out our options. I don't like to use fighting as an example, but I know that that's a reality, right? So before you go and shove this guy, what would be another solution to that problem? Okay, so let's keep going. Step 1, what's the conflict? Describe the conflict in a way that captures everyone's perspective and doesn't blame anyone. So it's not just about you, right? We talked about that last week. It's not all about you. We have to consider what the other person is thinking and feeling. When we're looking at identifying what the conflict is, we don't want to place blame. Okay, and there's some guidelines for that. You want to try to understand the perspective of everyone involved. You want to use respectful communication. And you want to avoid blaming language. All right. So you don't just want to, if a conflict comes up, you don't want to. So let's say Joey's coming over to your house. You have all the video games and snacks set up, but he's got a football in his hand and it's a beautiful day out and he wants to go outside. You want to understand his perspective, right? Like maybe he doesn't have any brothers and sisters at home, so he doesn't get the opportunity to, play football and toss the ball with somebody, and he always can play video games, right? And it's nice outside. And so you don't want to be disrespectful with your communication. You want to clearly communicate those thoughts and feelings, and you also want to avoid blaming. Okay? Well, you didn't. Well, you were yelling at me, or well, you didn't text me back. Well, you. Okay, those are blame statements. And when people make blaming accusations, it makes the other person shut down. So let's think about the scenario we talked about last week with the two people who were working together on a group project, and how the girl had worked all weekend and got her part done, but then her partner, he comes to school, didn't have it done, and she immediately said, you just were out playing and having fun the whole weekend. But that really wasn't what happened. But what happened is he shut down, right? Because she was blaming him and making assumptions. And so it caused him to shut down. So if we can avoid making those statements that are blaming others, right? And we can take out that tone while we're having conversations, then it's much easier for us to resolve that conflict without it escalating. So now we're going to go on to a quick activity. And this is why we need our assignment opened up. I'm going to jump over here to the assignment in just a second. It's called the Night Out Dilemma. I'm going to read two different character perspectives and describe what they feel, think, need, and want. Okay, so we have a character A and we have character B. I'm going to pop over here. Because this is a recorded lesson, we're not doing group work or anything like that. We're going to scroll down here on our assignment, and I'm going to show you, here's where it says character A, and here's where it says character B. So I'm going to read character A real quick, and remember our focus is on resolving conflict. Character A, you've been really good friends with character B since the first grade. You have a tradition of doing something special together to celebrate your birthdays. For your birthday, your parents bought you 2 tickets to see a movie that you have been waiting to premiere in theaters. You've been waiting to see. Sorry, I got to change that. When character B tells you that he has made other plans, you feel hurt and angry. You think they should have prioritized your birthday tradition. For you, honoring that tradition is the sign of a good friend. Okay, so now part of our conflict solution is for us to be able to identify what somebody else feels, thinks, needs, and wants. So based off of this information, we know that character A is feeling hurt and angry, right? Thanks. What is this character thinking right now? So right now he's thinking that character B doesn't care. Maybe that's an assumption that he's making. He's jumping to the conclusion that, character B has made other plans. He, doesn't think his birthday is important. That might be something he's thinking. Something he needs. He needs to feel like his friend cares about his birthday and that tradition that they have with each other. Okay. And then something that he wants. He's wanting character B to come see this movie with him, right? But character B has already made other plans. So that's character A scenario. Okay. And you can fill in those four different items here, however you feel based off of what we read. Okay. Now we're going to jump down here to character B. You've been really good friends with character A since the first grade. You have a tradition of doing something special together to celebrate your birthdays. This year, however, you've been invited to do a poetry open mic night. You've been writing poetry for a while, and this will be an awesome opportunity for you to perform and meet other poets. You're really excited about the opportunity, but you're sad it's on your friend's birthday. You let them know that you have other plans for that day. Sorry, there's another dog walking outside. You think character A should understand. For you, being a good friend means that you're supporting your friend's interests. You need them to understand how important this is to you. Okay, so let's think about character B. How is he feeling? So this one doesn't clearly state that he feels a specific way, like it did up here. Up here, it said that he feels hurt and angry. So we're going to make an assumption down here about how character B feels. Maybe he's upset. He might be hurt and angry too. He might be angry that his friend doesn't understand, right? He might be hurt that his friend is upset. What's something that he's thinking? So based off of what I just read, it sounds like character B thinks that his friend should be okay with the fact that he has made other plans. There are several different other things that he could be thinking, but that's just one that kind of pops up into my head. Now we're going to scroll down. What does character B need? So it sounds like he needs the opportunity to go to this open mic night. It's important to him. He's been working hard on poetry. This will be a great opportunity for him. So he's excited about that. He needs that. Okay. He also needs for his friend to understand how important it is to him. And then what is something that character B wants? So character B wants for his friend to be okay with him, missing out on going to the movies that day. Let's imagine that you are either character A or character B. How would you resolve this conflict? So pretend you're one of them, and it doesn't matter which one you want to be. We can be character A if you want to. So if I'm character A, and it's my birthday coming up. He knows my birthday is always, the funny thing about birthdays is they're always on the same day every year, right? Mine's September 30th. So every September 30th of every year, it's my birthday. It doesn't change. So even though I'm upset that my friend, character B, has made other plans on my birthday, I can be flexible and understanding and understand that maybe we don't do it on my actual birthday. I know my mom has already bought the tickets, so maybe I can find somebody else to go to the movie with. And then maybe the next day, me and my friend, we can do something together to celebrate. Okay. So that it's kind of about compromising. If I pretend I'm character B and I really want to go to this open mic night, I'm going to be apologetic to my friend. I'm sorry. Like, I know that your birthday is important to you and that we always do something special on your birthday. And I'm really hoping that I can still make your birthday special by us going and doing something tomorrow instead. Okay. So I'm not getting mad at my friends. I'm understanding why he's upset. Right? I'm validating that he's upset. I'm understanding that he's upset. And instead of turning that into an argument, well, you don't care about me. Yeah, this is important to me too. Instead of having the conversation go that way, I am sitting here and trying to understand what's going on through my friend's head so that we can work through it. So he has a right to be upset. He doesn't have a right to be disrespectful to me, and he's not showing that, based off of what we read, but he does have a right to be upset. And so I, as a good friend, am going to acknowledge his feeling, and take ownership that I have a role in to why he's upset. And I'm not going to argue with him. I'm just going to explain to him how important this is to me and how I really hope that we can celebrate tomorrow or next weekend. Okay. All right. So that does conclude today's lesson. In your next Cult Connections class, you're going to continue to learn ways to resolve conflicts. This is just another strategy that's in your tool belt. I want you to be mindful this week of your interactions that you have with family and friends. And as you feel conflicts coming up throughout the week, I want you to really be mindful of the strategies that we've talked about and trying to look at things from the other person's perspective. And remember to do that without, let's go back to our strategies real quick. We want to do that without, well, if it'll work, we want to do that without, well, geez, where did it go? Here it is. Sorry. We want to do that without placing blame, using blameful language. We want to use respectful communication, and we want to try to understand the perspectives of everyone involved. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed today's lesson. I do appreciate you guys tuning in with me today. I hope that you guys have a great rest of the day. And I know it's early, but happy early Thanksgiving, since I won't get to talk to you guys before then.